Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our afternoon edition of Big Brother 22 All-Stars Live Feed Spoilers. The BB basement may be over? Question mark. This is a very weird day on the live feeds, to say the least.
Yeah, there's very little information that's out there about the BB basement and who won and what's going on, but we will get into everything we do know.
And we at least know there's a lot of drama that is going on. We can say that for sure.
Yep.
It seems like something happened with Bayley and Danny. There was a blow up of sorts. There's crying in the aftermath of it. We'll talk through that. Some game talk that's sort of going on. Animals are on the feeds again right now. I don't know if we're getting nominations early or some other weirdness is going on, but we'll find out later, I guess.
Yeah, it might be a little early for nominations, but, who knows?
Maybe production's just like, we know who's going on the block anyway. We don't really want to wait until later tonight.
Yeah, it's possible.
Well, before we get into anything more here, if you guys do like this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for more, and support us further. Check those links in the description to the store and our Patreon live chats, all sorts of other cool stuff you can check out there.
Okay, so this is kind of what we know about the BB basement. We know that whoever's won this, it's anonymous. So it wasn't just announced to everybody in the house. They have whatever it is they have from this, and nobody knows who it is. Everybody's denying it. Everybody's coming down on themselves. Oh, I did terrible. I didn't win. Nothing worked out for me. So no one's really tipping their cap at anything. But some people are starting to think that Kevin is acting a little bit weird. Now, I don't know if it really is he's acting a little bit weird and he has something, or he's just, the house feels weird right now. There is a lot of tension, a lot of fighting, a lot of everything that happened with KAYSAR'S last night has continued to bubble over for a lot of people. So it just might be he's tense.
I just think people in the house, you believe whatever you want to believe. And if you're somebody like Cody and you're sort of saying, oh, Kevin's got a weird look on his face today, you're going to start reading a million different things into it. Like, the only thing that seems to be kind of confirmed is that it was dark, like they showed on the show last night. It seems like people were around in there digging for something. It might have been gross based on some of what's going on. It sounds like a pretty fun competition, at least, to watch on the show this Sunday, so we have that regardless of anything else.
Big Brother does love the in the dark and people are stuck in sticky stuff or goopy stuff. They do love that.
I think we can probably, I don't know, rule out Bayley maybe because she was so emotional after the fact.
Yeah, so Bayley was crying afterwards, and at first I was kind of like, oh man, is this happening because she lost and she just is so overwhelmed because she knows that she's probably going to be targeted? But it also looks like Bayley and Danny had some sort of fight that got pretty intense. So afterwards, now Bayley was crying. Davon's trying to comfort her and help her through it like a good friend, which is awesome. But it's everything is just very, very tense.
I think that Davon probably doesn't. I don't want to say that Davon doesn't have it. I'm more than happy to be wrong if she does. Let's make that very, very clear. But I just feel like if she was comforting Bayley, maybe she would say, hey, Bayley, it's okay. I've got a power. I can help us get through whatever situation this is. But it sounds as though a lot of this Bayley and Danny fighting kind of stems from Bayley claiming to Danny supposedly that she had heard previously that multiple people told her that Danny was coming for her. That is like a very bizarre sentence to say out loud because it's like all over the place.
But it's true. Danny has been kind of coming for her.
Yeah, there's not that much that's false about all of it, but you get into the, oh, I'm hearing this, and then Danny goes into the, oh, I'm hearing this, and then they go back and forth, and then there's yelling, or then there's tears, and then, is Danny going out of control? Like, all these questions are sort of being asked. Enzo is, like, going and trying to talk to her to try to get a sense as to what's going on with Danny. Like, it's the typical sort of, like, BB chaos where everybody's, like, making their rounds and quote-unquote picking a side and trying to smooth things over.
Yeah, and it was interesting to, see that Enzo was going to go over and comfort Danny because he's not her biggest fan. So good on Enzo for trying to still make some sort of inroads there, even though he would be happy to see her walk out the door. And there's a lot of people that would like to see her walk out the door. And I know that Tyler has even kind of suggested to Christmas, oh, maybe there could be maybe Bayley and maybe Danny, or maybe this configuration that also includes Danny.
Yeah.
But Christmas doesn't seem to really be listening to that part of the suggestions because they're friends.
Yeah, it's going to depend, I guess, on what happens with the veto. But I think for now, I think Christmas is more than happy to just have Bayley and Davon go up on the block and then have that be sort of it. But I think we're reminded in the aftermath of all of this why someone like Enzo is a good player, because you don't want to indicate to someone that you're coming for them. And if you can find a way to mask it for as long as possible, because Enzo is just trying to talk to her to get a sense as to where she stands to try to get over this situation. He's not interrogating her about the power or anything else that's out there. We don't even know for sure if there is one power now or three powers now, or if this is like a one power a week situation.
Yeah, Julie was not clear again
Not at all.
with what this is or how it's working. And I really wish there was a little more clarity on what it is that is coming up. Like, what should we be getting excited about? And so vague.
It is so vague, but it does, this is the crummy thing about right now. It does feel a lot like what's going on here, and this kind of came through the Enzo and Danny conversation, like everyone is just sort of painting the target on Bayley, on Davon to some extent, and sort of saying, oh, Bayley's just acting desperate. She's throwing things up against the wall. It's the typical sort of frustration whenever you have someone on the outs. I'm not going to say demonize, but you're trying to make it clear that this person's acting like this because they're not a part of us, and we should get them out, because then you're going to stop having this behavior in the house and making this huge deal out of it.
And it's really weird because I don't know what people think that people that are going to be put on the block, or they're on the outs, or they're going to lose their spot in the game should act like. Because it feels like the only acceptable thing is to go to the HOH and be like, oh man, I understand, but boy, I'm sure bummed about it, but I'm going to try my best at that veto. And it's so unreasonable because people are going to feel what they're going to feel.
Yes.
They're going to be pissed. They're going to be sad. They're going to feel exiled. All these feelings are real and they should be allowed to feel them. But for some reason, whoever's nominated is not allowed to have any reaction to it.
And I think for Bayley in particular, because everyone just assumes that she's going to have a blow up like she had on the challenge or Big Brother 20 or anything else, that she is in this tough spot where she sort of has this expectation that, oh, Bayley has to walk on eggshells now. And it's like, I just think it's totally unfair because it's judgmental, and it's, okay, Bayley could be able to feel however Bayley wants to feel. I don't think she's played a great game these past couple of days, but that does not mean that, okay, we're all going to prejudge Bayley and she's not allowed to be upset, and Danny is allowed to be upset.
Yeah, everyone's allowed to be upset, and this house needs to kind of move past this idea that everybody has to play the same game season after season after season, that there are these expectations on you of how you're allowed to act or how you're allowed to feel or how you're allowed to express if you're sad or you're angry or you're whatever, because it's unfair for Bayley to be in this situation where she knows people are coming after her. She's been playing this game really well for a lot of this season. Now she thinks that, she is being targeted. She's not exactly sure why, because she has put in a good amount of work on people, trying to build alliances, trying to build all kinds of relationships, for it to kind of fall apart for no real reason. It's frustrating, and I understand why she's pissed off.
Yeah, I think empathy is always good as much as we can for people in this crazy situation. Like I said, Bayley's not playing a perfect game by any means, but
nobody is.
Especially this season, nobody is. Even Tyler, who I think has played great, has had a couple of flaws, like with David. Yes, that is the big example. But anyway, let's get into Kevin, because Kevin, this is like this is a Kevin report that I'm not as angry at Kevin as I was earlier today. Which
It's Kevin's corner here.
Well-
Here we go. Let's talk about Kevin.
Kevin, okay, yeah, Kevin had this talk with Christmas. Maybe I was a little bit annoyed with him for bringing up that Bayley sort of tore into him last night. Didn't have to tell Christmas that, but he did make something kind of clear to her in saying, you know what, all this stuff with Danny versus Bayley, I think it's a distraction. I don't really think it's exactly as we're seeing it. I think these two are being pitted against each other so that other people can sort of hide in the background, and he also made it clear that he did not believe that it was KAYSAR who was the source of it, so he's not doing everyone's favorite game of let's just throw KAYSAR under the bus because he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, the problem is that what I take away from what Kevin is saying, and I don't know that Christmas is, but she might, is then that these two are the distraction to distract you from the Tylers or the Enzos or the Codys,
Yeah.
who she's working with. So it doesn't really matter as where it is, because he's trying to kind of convince her in a way that she, you know, might be being used or might be disposable. But I think she knows that her relationships with Enzo and Tyler are solid, and they are.
This is the thing with Kevin right here, is that he's right, but he's also wrong at the same time, because I think he's spilling a lot of like straight facts to her. He's telling her that, you know, you may very well be a part of a larger group, and it's possible some people in that larger group are in fact just using her as a number. We know Cody has plenty of other numbers elsewhere. Like Nicole has some other numbers elsewhere. But, you know, guess what? There are other people who do sort of value her. Like, if you're asking Tyler, who would he rather go to the final two with, Cody or Christmas? I'm pretty sure he says Christmas every day of the week.
Yeah, and I actually think that Enzo would take Christmas to the end as well, because I think both of them think that they can beat her, but they might not be able to. It's just going to depend on the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's still too early to tell, but this is the game that I did want to see Kevin play. Not so much the spilling about Bayley, but instead the part of it where he's trying to plant seeds. And because he did work on building a little bit of a relationship with Christmas over the course of this past week, he has put himself in a spot now where I think he can go up and say things to her, and then she can basically hear them and not be thinking immediately, oh, I need to put Kevin on the block.
Yes, it puts Kevin in a good spot that I don't think he's going to be anywhere on her radar. So, Kevin, you've done a good job on that. Is it going to convince Christmas to look at a Tyler, Enzo, even Cody, who they don't really get along with each other? Probably not. She is working with that side of the house. And it is, again, where Christmas has put herself in a really good spot, where she is part of this bigger alliance and the underdogs don't see it. They actually think she's on the outs with all of that. She's kind of a free agent, and I still feel it all stems back to her safety suite win where she picked Ian, because it was such a throw off that everyone's like, Ian? All right, where's Christmas stand? Nobody knows, right? And so here she is.
Before we go, can we all just give Ian a big socially distanced hug at this moment? The guy's having a hard time. He vented about it last night. He vented again after this competition to Enzo, and maybe it's gameplay and Ian actually secretly won the power or whatever else, but he's just kind of, he's going through that phase a lot of people go through during Big Brother where they're just sort of over it and they're sad and they're frustrated, and he's had a particularly stressful last like 48 hours.
Yeah, he has. And, you know, it is 5 weeks in, so people are starting to get to that point, but there has been a lot of people that have been feeling that way this season, where they're kind of like, oh man, I wish I could go home, or I miss whoever. Tyler's also been going through it. KAYSAR was going through it.
Yeah.
Ian definitely going through it. So, Ian, we're here for you.
We're here for you. You've got people in the house do like you. You gave a little bit of a puppet performance with the Isaac the dinosaur again. I always appreciate that.
I cannot believe that they have kept Ian in this house. I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
For everyone who's such a great game player, why, guys? I love Ian, but he is dangerous. Yeah. Even Cody laid it out the other day of just how dangerous he is in the game that he's played before and how much he can win. It is crazy.
Come on, Ian. You're still our only hope. I will say this probably 8,000 times until you're evicted. But all right, well, we'll conclude here. But what do you think this BB basement power could be? Are they tinfoil hat alert? Are they doing this so early with the nomination so that they can have the winner redo the nominations or something other crazy stuff like that?
Could be.
Give us your theories. Tinfoil hats appreciated in the comments. And if you like this video, give us a like, subscribe, support us, check those links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.